The unexpected visitor cold wind covered everything outside. Snow flew like white smoke in the air. The sky was gray and empty. The sun had disappeared hours ago. The planet had no name, only a code used by the company. Eli sat inside his small tent. He was a field scout. His job was to study land and send reports. Nothing special ever happened here. It was always cold. It was always quiet. He liked it that way. Inside the tent, the heater buzzed. Light from the tablet screen shone on Eli's face. He wore a heavy jacket and gloves. A pot of freeze-dried soup steamed beside him. The camp was set for the night. Outside the tent, sharp winds howled again and again. Eli leaned back, tired but calm, until he heard something strange. A soft noise, a scratch, then silence. It did not sound like wind. It did not sound like snow hitting the fabric. Eli froze. He waited. Another noise came, closer this time. It was like fingers brushing the side of the tent. He stood up slowly. His heart beat faster. He picked up the scanner, but it showed no life forms nearby. Still, the sound had come. Someone or something was outside. He walked to the tent flap. The heater's warm air touched his face. He pulled the flap back with a quick motion. Snow blew in. At first, he saw nothing. Then his eyes saw a figure crouched near the entrance. Small, thin, shaking, not wearing any heavy suit. Long hair moved with the wind. The figure looked up. A face showed under the frost. Big eyes full of cold and fear. Eli stared at the girl. She was not human. Her skin was smooth, but had a pale shimmer. Her lips moved, but no sound came. She looked weak. Her arms hugged her own body. She raised a hand. Her fingers pointed at the heater inside the tent. Then she looked into his eyes. She did not speak. She did not beg. But her body told everything. She needed warmth. Eli hesitated. He remembered the rules. No contact with unregistered life forms. No unknown entries in base camps. But this was different. This was not a threat. This was someone freezing. Someone close to death. He stepped back and opened the flap wider. The girl crawled inside without a word. She moved slowly and sat near the heater. Her hands shook. Her body leaned forward. She closed her eyes. Eli zipped the flap shut. He added another log to the heater. Then he sat far from her. He watched her for a long time. She did not look dangerous, but her presence made the air feel heavy. She had no bag, no tools, no translator. Only a thin suit not made for this weather. Snow melted off her shoulders. Water formed small pools around her. Minutes passed. She did not speak. She did not move much. Her eyes opened once and looked at Eli. Then she lowered her head again. He slid a blanket toward her. She picked it up slowly. She pulled it around her. For a moment, she looked like a lost child. But Eli knew this was not a child. She was something else. Something different. He tried to speak. He asked if she could understand. She tilted her head but said nothing. He tried again with simple words. Still no reply. She watched him closely, every word he said, every move he made. Her eyes followed all of it. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Snow beat against the tent walls. The storm was not ending soon. Eli stood up and turned on a second power cell. Lights flickered. He glanced at the girl. She was still silent. Still calm. Still watching. He prepared another portion of soup. He placed the cup near her. She looked at it. She reached for it. She smelled it, then put it down. She did not drink. Her hands rested on her lap. She looked at the heater again. Her body moved. Closer. The heat made her skin glow softly. Eli sat down again. He pulled out his journal and made notes. He did not write about the girl. Not yet. He only wrote about the storm, about the temperature, about the equipment status. He knew the company would not understand this choice. They would see her as a risk, as a mistake. But his gut said something else. Hours passed. The tent felt small. The silence grew deeper. The girl finally lay down on one side. She did not sleep but closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. Eli kept watching. He tried to focus on his work, but her presence filled the space. He checked the scanners again. Still no signals outside. Number. Trace of anyone else. Whoever she was, she had come alone. Or others were hiding well. Eli leaned back against his bag. He stared at the ceiling. He thought about how simple the mission was meant to be. Find minerals, record samples, send reports, stay alive, return home. Now, none of it felt simple anymore. The heater hummed on. The storm raged outside. Inside the tent, one human and one alien shared warmth. No words, no trust. Only silence and heat between them. Eli closed his eyes, but sleep did not come. He knew tonight would not end like other nights. Something had begun. Something he did not understand yet, but he had let it in. And it was now here with him. Something's off. The night moved slow like ice crawling over stone. Eli sat with his back against the tent wall. He tried to relax, but his thoughts kept moving. The heater gave soft warmth, and the wind outside screamed through the frozen valley. The storm had no mercy. The alien girl still lay near the heater. She had not spoken. She had not asked for anything. Her eyes stayed closed, but her chest moved steady. She did not look like someone in pain. But something about her made Eli feel strange. He picked up his scanner again and checked the readings. The storm covered most signals, but the local scan worked. It showed no movement outside, no other life. No energy trace, just cold wind and empty space. Eli looked over at the girl. Her skin looked brighter now. Her body no longer shook. Her hair had dried fast, almost too fast. Eli had seen frostbite before. He had seen weak survivors in cold zones. They never looked like this so soon. She turned her head slowly. Her eyes opened and fixed on Eli. There was no fear in them. Only calm. She watched him like a machine scans. A new object. Quiet. Focused. Then she sat up. Her movements were smooth like flowing water. No stiffness. No pain. She reached her hand toward the heater again. Then pulled it back. As if testing it, Eli felt his heart beat a little faster. He stood up and picked a protein bar from his kit. He placed it near her. She looked at it. Her fingers touched the wrapper. She moved it around but did not try to open it. She placed it aside without eating. Her eyes returned to Eli's face. She blinked slow. He tried to speak again. He pointed to himself and said his name, then pointed to her. She tilted her head but gave no reply. Eli repeated the gesture. Again, no answer. She simply copied his hand movement. Her lips moved as if mimicking his sound. She tried to say something, but it came out broken, a soft echo of his name. Then silence. Eli walked over to the equipment shelf. He pulled out a small device with a speaker and translator screen. He activated it and placed it near her. It made a low hum and blinked green. She watched it. She touched the edge of the screen, then looked back at him. The screen showed no language match. No known dialect. The system could not translate her speech. Eli sighed and turned it off. He looked out through the small window of the tent. The storm had not slowed. The snow kept falling hard. There was no chance to leave the site tonight. No chance for help. He returned to his seat. His mind kept spinning. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why was she alone? So many questions with no answers. Her silence only made things harder. The girl stood up. Her body moved with strange balance. She walked around the tent once. Her eyes scanned everything. The gear, the tools, the screen, the maps. She reached the table where Eli kept his damaged comlink. She placed her hand on it. The screen flickered. Sparks rose from the side. Eli jumped from his seat. He rushed over and pulled her hand away. The screen turned black. Smoke rose from the side. The cum was dead, burned inside. He stared at her in shock. She looked at him with no regret, no guilt. Her face stayed calm, like nothing had happened. He spoke in a firm tone. He told her not to touch anything. He pointed to the equipment, then shook his head. She watched and nodded, but her eyes showed no real understanding. He returned to the seat. His hands shook a little. That cum was his. Only line to the outpost. Now he was cut off. Trapped in the tent. Alone with someone not from this world. The storm outside had become a cage. He looked at the girl again. She had returned to her seat. Her eyes stayed on him. Eli stared back. He asked himself again why he let her in. Maybe it was the human thing to do. Maybe he had made a mistake. Or maybe it was something bigger. He could not tell. The heater made a soft beep. Power level dropped. He walked over and changed the cell. The girl watched every move. She copied the way he handled the tools. She did not blink much. She seemed to be learning everything. Eli felt a strange chill, not from the cold, from something inside. This girl was not just surviving. She was studying, understanding, learning fast. He opened his journal and began writing again. This time he wrote about her silence, her fast healing, her strange reaction to warmth, her ability to mimic sounds, her strange touch with the cum. He wrote about every detail. He knew this might be important later, maybe even dangerous. She leaned forward and looked at the journal. Her eyes followed each line. She reached toward the page, but Eli closed the book. She did not push. She simply sat back and stared at the heater again. Outside, the wind cried louder. The tent shook. The snow pushed harder. Eli checked the power again. Enough for 6 more hours. Then darkness. He thought about calling for help, but the cum was gone. The backup system was at the main camp far away. No way to reach it now. Girl closed her eyes again. Her body leaned near the heater. Her skin still shimmered in the light. She looked peaceful. But Eli felt anything but peace. He sat and waited. The night had not ended. The cold had not gone. The silence inside the tent felt heavy. Something had changed the moment he let her in. Something he could not see yet. But it was growing. Quiet, slow, unseen. The girl was no longer just a guest. She had become part of the tent, part of the night. And Eli knew deep inside that this story was far from over. The truth beneath the skin morning never really came on that planet. The sky stayed gray. The light stayed dull. Time passed slow. The storm outside had started to weaken, but snow still moved across the frozen ground. Inside the tent, the air remained warm but thick with silence. Eli had not slept. His eyes stayed on the girl, who sat in the same place as before. Her body had not shifted much. Her face still looked calm. Her hands rested on her lap. But Eli's mind had changed. He had seen things the night before. Small things, her quick recovery, her strange touch, her perfect stillness, the way she watched every tool, every word, every move. It was not like a lost traveler, not like a scared survivor. It was something deeper, something with purpose. Eli picked up his scanner. He aimed it toward her body. The screen blinked. The result came back unclear, not human, not machine, not organic in the usual sense. It showed signs of energy flow where there should have been blood. It showed no pulse but heat, no heartbeat but constant charge. He felt a chill run through his arms. He placed the scanner down and stood up. He took a few slow steps toward her. Her eyes opened. She looked up at him. No fear, no worry, only focus. He asked her again if she could understand him. She did not answer, but she raised her hand. She pointed to her head, then to his, then closed her eyes. A soft light began to shine near her skin, not bright, just enough to see a glow. Like something under her skin had started to wake up, Eli stepped back. The heater clicked once. The light from her skin flickered. Then a wave of images hit his mind. They did not come through words. They came like dreams, fast, strong, strange. He saw stars. He saw ships. He saw a world with no sun. A world made of crystal and silence. He saw a group of beings standing in circles around a dark stone. He saw his own planet from far above. He saw her eyes filled with sadness. Then everything stopped. He dropped to his knees. His breath came hard. He looked at her. She had not moved. Her eyes stayed on him. She had shared something. She had shown him a part of her story. Not with speech, but with thought. Eli stood slowly. His legs felt weak. He picked up his journal and began to write. His hand shook, but he wrote everything. He saw. He knew now that she had come for a reason. Not by accident. She had been sent. He remembered a report he once read. A classified file marked red by the company. It spoke of forms that looked human, but were not. Creatures made of energy that could take shape, that could learn, that could decide if a species was friend or enemy. Eli looked at her again. She was not a girl. She was a scout, a test, a living question placed before him. She stood up now. Her body looked more balanced. Her skin no longer looked frozen. She stepped closer to him. Eli stayed still. She placed her hand on his arm, the place where he had once been hurt, a scar he carried from an old drill accident. Her hand stayed there for a moment. Then a warm pulse spread through his arm. The pain faded. He pulled back his sleeve. The scar was gone, not just faded but erased. The skin looked new, clean, smooth. He looked at her with wide eyes. She had not used a tool. She had not done anything visible, just touch, just energy. Eli did not speak. He moved back to his seat. His thoughts ran fast. If she could heal flesh, what else could she do? If she could see into memory, what else could she learn? She sat again. Her hands touched the floor of the tent. A soft hum filled the space. For a moment, all the tools in the tent blinked. Lights flashed. The heater made a soft beep. The broken cum flickered for a second, then went dark again. She had control. Not full but growing. Eli felt the pressure of choice. He could record this and send it once contact returned. He could warn the company. He could ask for help. But a part of him did not want to. A part of him felt this was not a threat. Not yet. He poured water into a small cup and placed it near her. She picked it up. She drank slowly this time. Her eyes stayed on his. A sign of trust, maybe. Or a sign of success in her mission. Eli remembered stories from old Earth books. Stories of first contact. Some ended in war. Some in peace. All began with one meeting, one person, one moment. He had not asked for this role. He was not a leader, not a hero, just a field scout with a small tent and a short list of duties. But fate had placed something in front of him. Something beyond training, beyond orders. The girl reached into her suit and pulled out a small object, a stone, clear, shaped like a tear. It pulsed with a faint blue glow. She held it toward him. Eli took it. The moment his fingers touched the stone, a new image filled his head. A ship, huge, silent, hidden under ice, waiting, watching, not far from his tent. Her people were here. They had been here for some time. He placed the stone beside the scanner. His hand felt warm. He looked at her. She nodded once. No words, no sound. But a message was clear. She had shown him a truth. She had shown him trust. Now it was his move. Eli stared at the snow through the small tent window. A ship under the ice. A being of energy in his shelter, a signal not sent, a future not yet chosen. The storm was ending outside. But something else was just beginning inside. Between trust and threat, the storm outside had turned quiet, but the silence inside the tent had changed. Eli sat near the heater with his hands wrapped around a warm cup. The girl sat across from him with her eyes focused on the glowing stone. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them moved much. They both knew something important had shifted. Eli kept thinking about the image she had placed in his mind. A large hidden ship buried deep under the ice. It was not just a picture. It had weight. It had meaning. The ship was not waiting by accident. It was placed there for a reason. The girl was a part of something larger. She was not alone. The crystal on the table gave off a soft blue glow. Every few seconds it pulsed like a heartbeat. Eli had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing like this. This object was not just a symbol. It felt alive, like it held memory, like it could see through time. He watched the girl as she moved her hand above the crystal. A shimmer rose in the air. A new image appeared in his mind. This time he saw humans in suits standing near the ice ship. Some with weapons, some with scanners. Then the picture faded. Eli understood the message. If the wrong people came, the result could be war. If fear won over reason, everything would fall apart. He looked at the girl. She looked back at him. Her face calm but firm. She wanted him to decide. She wanted him to choose the next step. He stood up and walked to the back of the tent. He opened a small case and pulled out an old radio backup. It was low range but still worked on short waves. If he turned it on, the base might pick up the signal. He held it in his hands and looked at it for a long moment. The girl watched him. Her eyes held no pressure, no push, only quiet waiting. Alele placed the radio on the table but did not turn it on. Not yet. He stepped outside the tent for a short time. The air hit his face like cold fire. Snow still covered the ground, but the wind had stopped. The clouds had broken a little. Light from a distant sun tried to push through. He looked around the wide white land. Still no sign of movement, no sound. Only frozen hills and long shadows. But deep under that silence he felt something watching. He knew she had not lied. The ship was real. The others were near. Maybe under the ice, maybe inside the rocks. They had come with her. Or maybe they had sent her ahead. He could not be sure. He walked back inside and zipped the tent. The girl still sat by the heater. She looked at him as if reading his thoughts. Eli poured another drink and sat down. He pointed at the radio, then at the crystal, then at her. She tilted her head and closed her eyes. Another image came. This time he saw her kind standing around. A glowing field. In the center he saw a new image. It was Eli, or something close to him. He was standing still with a light around him. They were not hurting him. They were listening. They were learning. The meaning felt simple. They did not come to take. They came to see. They came to understand. But they would defend if attacked. Eli placed his hand on the crystal. The blue light warmed his skin. He thought of the people at the base, the team leaders, the officers, the rule makers. He thought of what they would do if they saw this girl. If they found the ship, they would panic. They would lock her in a lab. They would call for higher command, and they would never listen. The girl stood up. She walked slowly to the tent door. She placed her hand near the flap, but did not open it. She stood still, silent. Eli watched her. Then he heard it. A faint sound from outside. Not the wind. Not the storm. A sound like steps, soft, heavy, measured. He stood up fast. He grabbed the scanner. The screen blinked and showed motion. Not one signal, not two, but many, all around the tent. No heat. No metal, just faint waves. Too perfect to be animals. Too quiet to be human. The girl turned around, her face calm. She raised her hand and pointed toward the ground, then slowly lowered her palm, a signal to stay calm. To stay still. Eli placed the scanner down. His breath came slow. He sat again. The girl returned to her seat. She closed her eyes. The noise outside faded. The tent stopped shaking. The air turned quiet once more. Eli did not move. His heart beat like a drum. He understood now. They were here. They had surrounded the tent, not to harm, not to fight, but to watch his choice, to see what he would do. He picked up the crystal. Again, held it tight, then walked to the tent door. He opened the flap. Outside the snow stood clean and untouched. But shadows moved in the distance, not like animals, not like men, like shapes wrapped in light. One of them stepped closer. It stopped a few feet away, then raised its hand, the same way the girl had done. A soft glow formed in its palm. Eli stepped forward. He raised his hand the same way. The glow touched his skin, warm, gentle. No voice came. No word, but a feeling passed through him, a shared thought, a silent agreement. Then the figure stepped back. The others moved with it. The snow swallowed them again. The land returned to stillness. Eli stood there for a long time, then turned back toward the tent. The girl was still there. She had not moved. He sat down across from her. He placed the crystal between them. She looked at it, then looked at him. This was not the end, but it was a choice, a moment of trust. A bridge placed between two worlds, and it had held. The final choice. The morning was slow but calm. The storm had ended. The air outside the tent was quiet. No more sharp wind. No more rising snow. The sky above was light gray with soft white clouds moving like tired waves. Eli opened the flap of the tent and stepped outside. The cold still touched his skin, but the pressure was gone. The air felt lighter. Something had changed in the world. Around him, he looked at the ground where the shadows had stood. There were no footprints, no marks, no signs that anything had ever been there, but he knew what he had seen. He knew they had come. He had felt them. He had touched the glow. They were real, and they had made a choice just as he had. He walked back inside and sat down across from the girl. She sat still with her legs folded and hands resting on her lap. Her eyes were closed, her face calm. The crystal still sat between them, glowing with a soft blue light. Eli placed his hand near the crystal, but did not touch it. He spoke in a quiet voice. He told her that he would not call anyone. He told her that the others at the base would not understand. He told her that they would react with fear, not trust. He told her that they would see her as a problem, not a message. The girl slowly opened her eyes. She looked at Eli without blinking. She gave a slow nod. No words, no sound. Just that one gesture. It was enough. Eli stood up and walked to the back of the tent. He opened the supply box and took out a fresh scanner. He walked over to the girl and placed it near her. He pointed at the crystal. Then he pointed at the scanner. Then he stepped back. She understood. She placed her hand over the crystal. The light grew stronger. It moved like water. It flowed from the stone into the scanner. The screen blinked. Then it glowed. Symbols filled the display. Moving fast. Unknown. Beautiful. Eli did not try to stop it. He watched as the scanner filled with the data. He did not know what it meant, but he knew it was not for him alone. It was for the future. For a time when humans would be ready. The girl removed her hand. The light faded. The crystal turned clear. No more glow, no more pulse. Just a smooth shape like frozen glass. She handed it to Eli. He took it and placed it in a small case. She stood up slowly. Her body moved with peace. Her steps soft. Her presence no longer strange. She walked to the tent flap and waited. Eli followed. He opened the flap for her. Outside the snow had stopped. The ground was white and smooth. The wind had turned into a breeze. The silence was warm now, not cold. She walked a few steps away from the tent, then turned back. She raised her hand. Not a wave, not a goodbye, just a sign of respect. Eli did. The same. A soft light rose around her feet. Then her whole body shimmered. Slowly she faded from sight. Her form vanished like mist. No sound, no flash. She was simply gone. Eli stood alone in the snow. He felt no fear, no loss, only stillness. He walked back inside and sat down near the heater. The tent felt bigger now. The silence no longer heavy. He looked at the scanner. The symbol still moved across the screen. The case with the crystal sat beside it. He knew this was not just data. It was a gift. A chance. A door. He pulled out his journal and began to write. He did not write about fear. He did not write about aliens. He wrote about a girl who came in the cold. A girl who needed warmth. A girl who shared light. Hours passed. The sun moved across the pale sky. A soft signal beeped from the backup radio. The base was calling. They wanted to check his status. They wanted to know if he had made it through the storm. Eli picked up the radio. He pressed the button. He spoke in a steady voice. He told them the storm had passed. He told them all systems were stable. He told them he was fine. They asked if there was anything strange. He looked at the scanner. He looked at the case. Then he looked at the heater. He said no. He ended the call and placed the radio aside. He sat back and closed his eyes for a short while. His breath came easy. His hands rested on his lap. The mission would end soon. He would return to the base. He would take the data with him. But he would not speak about her. Not yet. He knew the world was not ready. He knew most people would not understand. They would fear what they could not name. But one day maybe things would change. Until then, he would carry the truth in silence. She had come not to take but to ask, not to test but to share. She had given him more than answers. She had given him a choice. And he had made it. The end.